Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, directly from Rio de Janeiro. So far, actually 25 hours flying. It's a pleasure to explore a little bit this country. It's an amazing country. And today, I'd like to share with you guys our experience here. I love biomimicry. Probably you have heard about this science. I've been teaching biomimicry in the university in Brazil, in Rio, in the last 15 years. And for me, this is an obvious source of inspiration to think about design and to think about new opportunities, to find new ideas for our big creative challenge to change things in the world. And come on, technology, yes. The main idea is nature has been developing different solutions in the last 3.8 billion years. It's an amazing R&D source of inspiration. And I usually say that the best part is that God doesn't charge any right, it's copyleft. You can go there and just to pick the ideas and to bring for your universe and everything. And when you think about our society, our species, we evolve in this crazy direction. We are Homo consumption. And this is really complicated when you think about the future of our society. We live in a not sustainable society. This picture, it's very common for us to stay in the traffic jam like that one is a huge challenge. And we need to solve all of these problems. We need to think about how to transport people in the big cities, how to produce energy, how to stay in small spaces in big cities around the world, to transport the things that we buy in different countries. We need to talk about trash and this, the idea of to consume more than like we can produce and you can recycle. But today we are talking in Sustainable Brands is a place where we have people from different countries, from different brands, from different companies that are trying to find the best way for brands helping in this huge challenge that we have. And what means sustainable brands? And more than everything, I believe that brands must be protagonists in building the future, really find their own way. And I usually say that I hate the idea of a green future. Because when you talk about a green future, we're talking about a monochromatic future. And when you think about the nature perspective that I've been studying so many years, I know that nature hates low diversity. Nature hates the monochromatic. Nature loves diversity. And for me, in my opinion, we need to find the way to bring more. Each brand must find their own color in this future. And their own color represents their own connection between their capacities, their sorry about my English, but probably it's much better than your Portuguese. And their own capacities and the new desires, the zeitgeist demands. But today I decided to talk more about the experience that I had in the last 6 years talking about brands. And I think that when we talk about the sustainable brands, we're talking about brands that can inspire people, especially with relevant purpose behind. And I had the opportunity to work in a very, very deep purpose behind a brand that is passion and transformation. That is in the center of a huge brand strategy that we developed in Rio de Janeiro we developed in the last 6 years in Rio de Janeiro about the Olympics and the Paralympics event, the whole thing. And this is the strategic tool that we delivered to the Rio 2016 committee. In the center, we have passion and transformation, that I believe that was the reason that everything worked so well in the whole process because we had a lot of passion. And only with passion we can transform things, especially in Brazil. I think that other countries are different, and I think that here in Thailand, I stay here just for some hours, but I saw in all of the contacts that I had with people here that it's possible to see a lot of passion here too. And this is good. And this is a very, very good drive to change things. And I'd like to share with you guys how we could create a very strong experience for people around the world in the last 6 years, and we just lived in 2 months ago, the whole process. And this is the identity. This is just the synthesis of many ideas, but more than everything, this is a brand that could represent the encounter, the match between the Olympic universe with the Rio de Janeiro address, how these two brands can be connected. And for me and for all of the designers around the world, this is a kind of dream project because it's considered the most complex visual system identity in the world. It's really, really complicated, and especially because it must be understood for 6 billion people. It is completely different when you have a target to work for a brand or a commercial brand. Here we need to talk with everybody and giving a very, very precision delivery and information and communication, strong ideas. It was a huge bid with more than 139 different agents. That becomes 87, that becomes 25, that becomes 8. And we won in the final process. And I'm sure that we won because we worked together. More than 100 people of our teams in São Paulo and Rio worked together, put all of our creative energy in this project. And we're trying to find most of everything really way to represent our humanity, our way to receive people, our energy, because this is so important in Brazil. And most of everything, this is a human brand. And another perspective is, this is a three-dimensional emblem, because we understood that we live in a very sculpture city. Would make a lot of sense to have a sculpture logo for a sculpture city. And I remember when I met Jacques Hogg, that was the president of IOC, he told me the first contact, he told me, Fred, this is a perfect logo for Olympics in Rio, because I used to travel around the world, and here in Brazil, especially in Rio, is the only place where I am always received with a hug, a big hug. And this is our energy. And we have our main postcard representing this in this shape. We're trying to draw out our landscape, and the colors are the colors of our forests, our ocean, our warm temperature. And here is the first 3D logo in the history of the Olympics. This is the moment where the logo was launched in Copacabana's New Year. It was really, really emotional moment in my career, in my life. But most than everything, the most important part of this project was how this whole project was important to inspiring people in Rio, and how these simple people could feel represented by this identity. And it was amazing. I remember in the first week after the launch of the logo, I was in a community in a slum in Brazil, and the leader of this community told me, come on, I understood your logo. Oh, really? Okay, go ahead. Well, it's easy to see the three forces there. I can see the government, people, and companies together in a big hug to change our city and our country. And I said, yes, exactly that we thought, because people started to see there different meanings that we didn't put there consciously. Just with our energy, we put other meanings there. And before the games, I think that all of us, you guys here, remember the energy, especially in the media. Everybody was talking that okay, Brazil is doing a terrible work about the Olympics. Everything is going to be complicated there. We have Zika, we have pollution, we have many stuff, and everything worked so well. And normally people used to say that the games are so expensive for a country like Brazil, and the ceremony is too expensive. And after everything worked well, I've been talking that how much, what the price to really to elevate it, the autoestima. How can I say autoestima? Self something some confidence, self-confidence for a whole country, more than 200 million people. If you pay therapy for 200 million people, probably it's much more expensive than this. And we have this opportunity really to create this energy around the games and people doing the movement of the, and everything. This is just the synthesis, this is just the graphic solution, but behind this, we were spreading a big quantity of ideas and really spreading our identity to the world. And this is some examples. This is the strategic tool that were in the all of the desks of the Rio 2016 people during the 5 years. We had the identities, the Olympic and Paralympic in our coins in Brazil, and thousands of products. And here, in some moments during the game, it was so crazy to see something that you're drawing. We remember the first drawings that we've been doing 5 years ago, 6 years ago, spreading around the world. It's so crazy, and everywhere. In beautiful applications with the colors of our city, our country. And this was the first time where the athletes received not a bunch of flowers. It's not sustainable because it's much more expensive to guarantee that flowers would be fresh until that moment. Normally people used to leave the flowers there. We gave to the athletes a small sculpture of the logo, and it was amazing when they receive and they really look the small sculpture and take them to their houses, really to like a interesting gift, and that represents the whole experience that they lived. And was so crazy. In the closing ceremony of the Olympics, we were there, and I saw a moment where a British athlete was there in the middle of the samba, and she in some moment she take out her medal, gold medal, and put in the drummer, the master of drummer, the drummer, and put there and do this for the guy, and she was so happy, and I thought, wow, she will never forget this moment. And happened with everybody that stayed there in Rio during these 45, 60 days, actually, considering Olympics and Paralympics. People making tattoos. This is Neymar and the soccer woman for Brazilian selection. Yeah, and our torcida is really a lot of energy. And the Americans, thank you, Rio, Phelps. But after that, we had the huge challenge to create the Paralympic symbol. I have 23 seconds to talk about this. And this is the first multisensorial logo of the Paralympics. We decided to do this because we have blind people there, and we have people with all of the senses. And we create a logo. It's a heart. When you're getting closer, the heart started to get faster and produce some sound. We have a subwoofer inside of this logo. And it was amazing when you launched the logo. This is one of our most famous Brazilian athletes in Paralympics. She's Adria dos Santos. And she was there in the launch. And when she touched the logo, she had this experience.
ideia, né, de colocar o som, o pulsar ali do coração. Quando eu coloquei a mão ali, eu comecei a pensar na minha história como atleta. Eu não aguentei segurar a emoção.
She told me that was the first time in her own life, like athlete, that she could try the symbol that represents her whole life. And because normally the logos are flat, just a print. And after that, I had another amazing opportunity to be one of the creative directors of the opening and closing ceremonies of the Paralympics with Vicky Muniz, a Brazilian artist, and Marcelo Rubens Paiva, a writer. And it was so amazing because we had a channel, open channel, to talk with 1 billion people about a so deep subject, very human, very touchable, that talks about disability, that talks about diversity, that talks about the small difference between efficiency and deficiency, how just one letter in Portuguese, in English too, represents so tiny, subtle difference. And we create a big heart in Maracanã, and the Maracanã becomes a heart that was amazing. This is just a video with 2 minutes, but I don't know if I have 2 minutes. Just a short video. And after 3 o'clock, I'm going to explore more. This is Philip Craven, the president of IOC, arriving in Rio. This is the beginning of the ceremony. We had a video, and after she arrives alive there. And in the beginning we have Aaron Wills. He's an American athlete, extreme athlete, that made a huge jump, showing that they can do everything. For the heart knows no limits. This is the main concept behind all of the ceremony, because we're not talking about the limits that your body has, but we're talking about the limits of your heart doesn't have. Here we're talking about our diversity in Carioca's beats all the time. The anthem is this beautiful moment with the Brazilian flag. And here we brought the athletes for the beginning of the ceremony, because they should be there to watch the ceremony. And we built a big heart with the pictures of all of the athletes. And this was the moment where the Maracanã really beat like a heart. Here we're talking about the limits of the senses. The name of this segment is Beyond Vision. We're talking about blind people and how we explore less than you could explore our senses in general. And this is a couple of dancers, blind dancers, showing the tactile opportunities, touching, and it was a beautiful moment. Here talking about the Vitruviano man, but in our perspective, talking about the no perfection bodies. Here we made an homage to the pictograms that was developed the first time for the Paralympics exclusively. Here talking about the determination, shaping the agitos, showing people going across the wind. It's a beautiful moment. And here was the way that we choose to carry the Paralympic flag, using children that can walk, using boots, walking with their father's legs. And here we have Amy Purdy's American athlete dancing with a machine, talking about technology and human, this very important Paralympic way. And here we're talking about universal design, when these guys, Clodoaldo, arrive in front of the Pira, was a huge stair, like most of people that use wheelchair can find in their own cities. And there, the stair open and the ramp appear, and he goes up. And there we are talking about how it's important to stay together, stay in the very in the same place, people with wheelchair and people with no wheelchair and everything. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.